Okay, this is the dish. This is what we're making today, and here is the recipe. Let's get into it. I want to add a cube in, classic, delete the cube, add it back in. That's how you do it. Add a cube in, go to geometry nodes, and then we're going to add in a new, actually before we do this, you do need, for this one, the newest version of Blender, 3.4. Okay, the reason that is because 3.4 has a new node called mesh to volume, and we're going to use that to distribute points within the mesh itself. Mesh to volume, and then we're going to need a distribute points to volume. Done. I'm going to increase that, and after this we need a instance on points. So now that we have our cube feeding into our mesh, our volume, and then that's going to distribute that, and that's going to give our instance the points it needs. So that way, when we input any object after that, say like a cube, it will then give us this. I'm just going to turn the scale of this down a little bit, like this. And we need to then add some animation to this and some scaling. So pretty simple. We're going to come down here. I'm going to add in a color ramp. Color ramp. And a noise texture. Plug all these in, and that's going to the scale. And I'm just going to increase the contrast of this color ramp and lower the scale of this a little bit so we can just see what's going on. So as you can see here, the noise itself is controlling the scale in a 3D space. So now that we have that, we need to then add some animation to it to give it some flickering. So the way we do this is grab our original cube. We then need a geometry proximity. I can't type today. Geometry proximity and a vector math. Plug all these in. And this vector math node is going to be where we animate stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I already got one here, but is rip this up, give us another little panel, and then switch us over to our timeline. And then I'm going to pick, so this will be like X, Y, Z. Come over to the first frame. I'm going to put a I for a keyframe. Come into the last frame, and I'm going to type in just 5 in a random one. And as you can see here, so this is pulling a noise texture through 3D space, and then as it's doing that, it's going to allow these to shrink and grow. Now, let's add a little bit of let's add a material to this. So what we need to do is, because our cube is procedural and it's after the fact, you can't just add a texture to this and expect it to work. What you need to do is add a texture in, and then come after the cube, and we're going to add a node which is the set material node. And then we're going to come down and then pick our material here. And then what that's going to do is then apply that after the cube. Okay, I'm going to just switch this to an emission, because we're going to turn these into stars. So with our cube here, I'm going to just remove that, and we're going to put it in an icosphere. And scale it down a little bit, holding shift. Bam. Okay, so now you can see here we have pretty simply, created some nice looking stars in a 3D space. So you get that nice parallax, if you're moving the camera through them, with a little bit of twinkle. So that with, a bit of, that will be on cycles. Let's go to Eevee, come over here, and we'll just chuck in a little bit of bloom. I'm then going to just increase the radius of that, come back to bloom, and then just the radius, bring that down. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got a nice little twinkling stars. You can animate this however you like. Another way to use this, right, is like, you want to make some cool visuals with it. Well, quite simple to do. For example, because we're using textures to animate this, just switch that out with anything you want. So another idea is you then put a wave texture in here, throw that in there, and I'm gonna go on Z, and then down the scale quite low, right? And then as you can see here, our wave is going into our color ramp, and this little gradient here is our little like tail here, the little fade off. So that's how we can, so if we change that to like say B spline, we can affect the fade off. So check that back to linear. And so with that, so what's cool about the wave texture, it already has a phase offset on it. So we just need to move this. So as you can see here, you can add, I don't know what you do with this, but it's cool. Now that's basically it. If you guys know what you want to do with this and you end up making something with it, can you tag me? I'll leave my Instagram in the bottom, and enjoy.